So there's a difference between fighting for a relationship and fighting to be enough for the person that you're in a relationship with. And this is a really important distinction because a lot of times you think, well, no relationship is perfect. Everyone has their struggles. Everyone needs to work through stuff. And so you use that as an excuse to stay in relationships that really aren't healthy, where the other person actually isn't moving in the same direction as you. They aren't fighting for the relationship. You're the one over functioning. You're the one over explaining. You're the one trying to understand their trauma and change the way you speak and change your timing and change how you feel when they disappear or ghost you, especially with a dismissive avoidant. If you are dealing with a dismissive avoidant, you are likely over functioning. And so we've got to get to the root of what you're actually doing. Are you fighting for a relationship? Because that's got to be mutual. Or are you just fighting to be enough for the person that you're trying to be in a relationship with or that you're trying to maintain a relationship with? One is mutual, and the other is old subconscious programming where you are trying to be chosen. So you don't want to lie to yourself or gaslight yourself into continuing down a road that you're just going to look back on one day and totally regret. So I want to dive into that today, and I want to help you get some real clarity. But first, if you're new here, I'm Ketra Thompson. I'm a certified master hypnotist and a relationship attachment style coach. So what I do with my clients is we go back on a subconscious level. We reframe that subconscious programming so that you are running with new programming. And the really important key here is your attachment style is also formed in the same years that your subconscious is being primarily programmed. So it's incredibly effective for how you show up in the world with your attachment style as well. So if you'd like to learn more, check out the link in the description below. You can set up a completely complimentary consultation call where you and I can chat and we can get to the heart of what's going on and I can make my best recommendation. So basically, if you are someone trying to overfunction for a dismissive avoidant relationship, your brain is getting hijacked. It's getting hijacked by your own fight or flight, your own need to feel safe, and your own desire to control your world and your environment. And so it's taking your focus outside of yourself and it's putting it on the other person, how they're behaving, what their mood is, how they're responding, how they're not responding. And you're not really paying attention to what's going on inside of you. Instead, you're thinking, how can I shift how I show up with this person so that they will receive me, so that they won't run away, so that they will get it? Even their negative behaviors. A lot of times when you're dealing with a dismissive avoidant, if you do trigger their shame wound, if you have anything you're asking them to change about themselves or a complaint or whatever, anything that makes them feel like they're not enough, you're going to also trigger their kind of compulsion to create negative things about you. It's almost like they create a negative stockpile sort of in their brain for all the reasons that you aren't perfect. They fault find. And then when they feel triggered into their shame, or they're feeling judged, they pull out that list and they start picking you apart for something. And so even in those moments, you can overfunction where you're over explaining and you're explaining, I didn't mean that. And here's what I meant. And they're not really understanding. They're not giving you patience. They're not trying to save the relationship. Remember that difference between trying to work on a relationship together, that's mutual. That's teamwork. That's, hey, we both have the same goal. We want to get there together versus I need to make sure I contort myself into being what this person wants so I don't feel rejected by them anymore. So trauma does sort of this tricky thing in your brain. You've got complex trauma from growing up, and it doesn't mean your parents were awful. It doesn't mean they were terrible. It doesn't mean they did awful things. Maybe they did. But what it does mean is your interpretation of their behavior while you were forming your subconscious mind wasn't probably accurate. And so it creates this time loop inside of you where you are believing what you once told yourself and you aren't seeing the actual reality of what you're in. And so you think you can solve the problem, but your brain is going into panic mode and it's going into problem solving and it's not actually slowing down, calming your nervous system and giving you clarity, which is incredibly important that you do have a calm nervous system, that you do slow things down so that you can get clarity, but that requires you to be tuned into you. And it also requires you to have reframed the subconscious loop because it's like a record playing on repeat in the background of your mind. And you don't even know that there's something wrong with that record because it's all you've ever heard. And so you keep repeating this pattern of, if I could just be different and show up different, I could get the connection, the commitment, the potential that I see in this other person. I could get that consistently. That's a really old wound. The potential we see in our parents is the potential we project onto partners. So, hope I'm not going, off the beaten path here too much for you, but think about your parents. You're little, you think they are invincible, you think they know everything, you trust them, and you see their potential. And I can see, even in my relationship with my dad, he's a very kind man, like a very loving, kind man. And so I could see the potential of what kind of dad he could be. And I never fully realized that potential with him. He ended up living farther away, and there was a bit of a disconnect, and none of that made him an awful person. It just meant I didn't get to see the potential I saw in him realized. And I spent a lot of my life trying to over-explain and trying to overfunction and trying to jump through hoops and trying to be accepted just so I could see that the potential in him could be realized, that I would finally feel that acceptance, that love, that connection that I saw was there. It was there. I could see it. And I could see it in other things. I could see it in his relationship with his wife. I could see it, but I couldn't reach it. He was just out of reach. And we end up doing this in our relationships, especially with dismissive avoidance, and especially if you are wired with anxious attachment, because we are trying so hard to realize the potential. And what we don't get is that by focusing on someone's potential, we are ignoring ourselves, we are ignoring our needs, we are ignoring our boundaries, our dignity, our autonomy, the authenticity of who we are. And we're saying, well, if I'm not acceptable the way I am, let me change myself to be more palatable. But it doesn't work. It doesn't work with the dismissive avoidant, and it doesn't work with anybody else either, because you contorting yourself into something else means you're betraying yourself over and over. And the energetic shift in that means the other person more easily betrays you as well, because after all, you're betraying yourself. So why should they treat you any different? Why should they gain in their respect for you? Why should it grow for them? Even if these things are unspoken, if they're just felt energetically, they're not going to respect you more for appeasing them and giving them what they want. Matter of fact, they're going to respect you more for holding boundaries. And that does not mean that they're going to fall in line and give you what they want. They might disappear on you forever when you hold a boundary, but that's their problem. That's their wiring. So it's a big difference when you are trying to understand, am I trying to make myself acceptable to this person, or am I actually working on a relationship in a healthy way? And I think we need to look at this a little bit broader, in that the other thing to think about is, are you trying to make life for that other person better so that their stress goes down and they accept you? Because I remember doing this once. I remember, I don't know if you're into manifestation or anything, but I do believe our energy, because of the way the brain works, What we focus on gets bigger. And if we can feel and experience the way we want to feel in the present moment, it's so much easier to move that way. So I remember setting a timer, and every day I would spend about 5 minutes just manifesting a new job for this person that I was dating, that I knew they wanted, that I knew they were complaining about their current one, that I knew they wanted to up level into something that they felt really good about, where they made more money, where they were thriving, all of that. So for 5 minutes every day, I would set a timer and I would literally imagine them telling me this good news that they got this new job that they wanted and that they were excited about it, and me feeling excited for them about it. And I continued to do that until that person got that job. And they did. And when we do this, we think we're going to make life better for this other person in some way. We're going to solve their problem, or we're going to assist with their problem, or we're going to help in this way. And in the end, that's going to benefit them and us. Because if they're happy in life, they're going to be more happy with us. They're going to be more open to something real and realizing again the potential that we see. But it doesn't work that way. It doesn't solve the problem. Whatever problem a dismissive avoidant is saying is keeping them from going all in, from showing up in this certain way, there's always going to be another problem. It's going to be a child, it's going to be work, it's going to be timing, it's going to be where they live, it's going to be whatever. I don't care. They will make something up, because the point of them having the problem isn't actually the problem. It is their excuse to not grow in this area. They are terrified of something that makes them feel vulnerable, seen, judged, of commitment. And so when you are externally focused on them or solving their problem, you are ignoring yourself. You're ignoring the reality that you aren't having your needs met. You aren't being connected to. And so shifting from that mode into actually feeling confident and secure enough to walk away, even when it hurts, requires two things. Rewiring the subconscious mind, because it controls over 95% of everything you think, feel, and do. And it requires calming your nervous system on a regular basis, not just when you're spun out or stressed out, having regular practices so that you can drop into clarity. Now, that clarity is going to be even more crisp and easy once you've dealt with the subconscious programming, because it is running the show. And I can't tell you how many clients I've had that say this one thing, and it is so true. They say, I know better. I've read all the books. I know I shouldn't be doing this. I know I shouldn't be ruminating. I know I shouldn't be obsessing. I know I shouldn't be taking this person back. And they're doing it anyway. And the reason they're doing it anyway is because they cannot override the subconscious. It is like a freight train. And if you've ever seen a freight train try to stop suddenly when it's going fast, it can't. It cannot do it. It will plow through a house. And I had a client recently tell me that their own regular talk therapist said, well, I don't think you need to be here anymore. I think you've got it figured out. Like you're functioning, you're doing well. And she said, but the truth is, I'm not doing well. On the inside, I'm still a mess. I get it. I can say back to the therapist everything they want me to say because I understand, but I can't implement it. I can't actually feel better and stop the ruminating and stop this old pattern. And that's because it's in the subconscious mind. The subconscious is incredibly powerful, and we do not have the willpower to overcome the subconscious mind because of the guard around it, keeping it safe. And we have to be able to access the subconscious to make those real and lasting changes, which is exactly what I do with my clients. And in my new Secure Self Blueprint, we do all of this together. So this is for the person who is divorced, who is heartbroken, who is dealing with a dismissive avoidant discard, has any kind of ruptured relationship, and they want to become securely attached. It is an incredibly comprehensive program where we do the deep hypnotherapy work, we do the attachment style coaching, we have an entire community of support and very customized processes just for you. So if you want to check that out, of course, the link is always below. I still do my custom sessions for everything under the sun, of course, and you can chat with me about that as well. But this program is going to be one of those things that I already know I've had hundreds of clients with this exact same issue. I already know it's going to be an absolute game changer. And I also want to mention I do have a quiz that I created that will help you get some clarity on whether or not you're actually healing or if you're just sort of getting by. And that clarity is really important, especially on this topic we're talking about today, because if you're just kind of getting by and pushing through, you're going to reach a level of burnout. And so if you think you're working on healing or fixing a relationship mutually, that's a different story. Both people are on board and they're moving the same direction. But if you are trying to become lovable, likable, acceptable by changing who you are, by behaving differently so that you can be met with empathy or curiosity or connection or acceptance, then you've got a problem. And I'd love to chat with you more about that so I could help you get even clearer on where you stand and what's contributing to the way that you feel. So if this content resonates with you, if it helps you have any kind of additional insight at all, which I hope it does, I really appreciate it if you would click like and subscribe so you can be notified every time I post a new video. And until next time, I hope you come to a point where you are ready to take your life back and get rid of all the programs that have been running the show, programs you didn't even put there to begin with.